Hello, my name is Sydney Walker, and this is my final project, which is on culturally competent assessment. And here we go. All right, so beginning with the importance of culturally competent assessment to multicultural counseling. My first point is knowing your culture may help you understand your own biases. So basically, as a counselor, it is very, very important to be aware of what biases and what prejudice you have, because unfortunately, everybody has them, and not everybody may be aware of what they are. And this can very much get in the way of progress for your clients of different cultures, maybe you not understanding them. But you may have judgments that you may not be aware of until they hit you in the face, and you may assume something that isn't always applicable and isn't always correct and could be offensive, and likely is. So that's the first point. The second point is knowing other cultures may help you create more empathy. So, empathy is essentially putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, even if you've never been in it yourself. And so, this is especially important when you're counseling somebody of a different culture because they are continuously walking through something that you've never experienced before and you won't ever experience because you're not of that culture. You don't know what obstacles they face and you don't know what they're going through. So, if you are educating yourself and you're aware, then you'll be able to create more empathy, and in turn, will hopefully help the therapeutic relationship and the therapeutic process. Continuing on, is knowing other cultures may help you understand outward influences that could be occurring for your client. So, knowing other cultures, understanding outward influences. So, if something is going on in society and something is going on within a culture that is very, very relevant and hitting close to home, this may subconsciously be affecting that client. So, it may be affecting their home life, it may be affecting their moods and their emotions. And you just don't ever know what's going on. And sometimes things happen in the world and we don't know that they're really taking a toll on us. And if something specifically is happening with a culture or a movement of some sort, this could be affecting them without them even knowing or being aware of it. So if you're aware, that can help them shed some light on what's going on internally that's outwardly affecting them. Continuing on is understanding obstacles that your client may be experiencing. So, being aware of other cultures helps you to understand what challenges they may have to go through. So, there are things that as a white woman, I do not experience and I do not have to go through. But future clients and current clients of mine may have to experience. They experience certain types of discrimination and racism and things that I would never know unless I studied and unless I exposed myself to them. So um, that is very, very important. And the last point is this may help you understand why your client may make certain decisions and behave in certain ways. So there may be certain behaviors that I think are irrational or I think are obscure or I think may be offensive. But in another culture, that could be something that's normal and that's something that is a sign of respect, or that is something that means your family. There's a whole lot of different options of how this could be an issue or how this could be something that is important when being culturally competent. This could also inform you of how they make certain decisions. So there may be certain decisions that I would never make as a white woman. But if I were counseling somebody of a different culture and even a different gender, this may help inform me about why certain decisions have to be made or why they just prefer it that way. So this all around, there's many, many important information that you can get from being culturally competent, and it's very important to be culturally competent for multicultural counseling. The second is essential elements of culturally competent assessment. So these are the key things that are important when it comes to being culturally competent. So, what does it even mean to be culturally competent? So, the first thing is listen and being open to those with stories of people who have had their power stripped from them. So, this is simply just listening, opening your ears, not being the one to talk all the time. I think a lot in this society, we talk a lot and we want to hear our own voices because we have something to say, but there's so many other people that have things to say, and there are things that people know more about than we do. People have experienced things that we have not. And as if we as a culture and as a society, especially in the helping profession, just listen, that will go a long way. The second thing is biases and prejudices exist even without you knowing it. So, an essential element is just facing the fact that you have biases, you have prejudices, and this is something that you need to educate yourself on and you need to be aware of and face the fact that it's unfortunate, but it's unavoidable. The third thing is understanding your intense emotions. So, this goes pretty much hand in hand with biases and prejudices, but understanding that you're going to feel things very deeply. And sometimes you may have a bigger reaction to something than you originally thought you would. You may not have even thought about it until it happened. And so, when you learn to hone in and be aware of those emotions, you can better navigate those emotions to better help you help your clients. The fourth thing is understand how you got to where you were without even trying. So this goes back to history, understanding the benefits that you have of being who you are, being able to understand what blessings and what in history has gotten you to where you're at. Because there are some cultures, a lot of cultures that have had to work a lot harder than others to even be seen, to even have a job, to be even to talk, to go to school, to have a voice. And that's important to understand that some people, if history hadn't happened the way it did, you may not be where you're sitting today. And that's important to recognize and be grateful for, or to recognize and learn from. The fifth thing is exploring yourself as a racial, cultural, and ethnic person with morals, beliefs, and attitudes. So, this is recognizing your own culture. You can't help other cultures or educate yourself on other cultures if you don't even know your own. You don't understand what you believe. You don't understand what your race is, what your culture is, because everybody has a culture and everybody has a race. And so, it's important to educate yourself on who you are and why you believe the way you do. Because sometimes what we believe may not always be what's true. The final thing, and probably I wouldn't say the most important, but it's pretty important, is being open to conversation. So this goes back to exposing yourself. So being open to talking to other people of different cultures and educating yourself on what they go through, asking questions, learning, and going back and forth to share with one another what you're experiencing and what somebody else is going through and what they live through, because you won't know unless you ask. The last thing is agreements and disagreements with the author's presentation of culturally competent. So the author that I've chosen is our textbook, and this is where I came from. So I agree with the author's presentation of being culturally competent because of these things. The author of the curriculum used for this course presents cultural competence as something that everyone requires, both white and colored skin. So this is really important to me that the author recognizes that everybody needs to be culturally competent, not just one race or another, not just one skin color or another, that this is something fundamentally as a society, whoever you are, whatever your background is, you need to educate yourself and you need to learn. This is something for everybody. The next thing is the author recognizes that this may be an emotional journey for someone to take a deeper look in the mirror. So for me, this has been a bit of an emotional journey of realizing that I try to be somebody who is emotionally available and somebody who cares for people and understands people. But there are things that I don't like about myself, and the fact that I have biases that I can't avoid, but I can work towards educating myself further. The final thing is the author sees that biases and prejudices may not always be something that are premeditated or even conscious. So, this goes along with the second one, where we may not understand or even know that we have biases. So, the fact that the author recognizes that not everybody is malicious, not everybody is intentionally racist, or not everybody is out to think that they are the alpha of the races or genders or whatever the culture it may be. So that's really important, and I was grateful that they recognized that. In conclusion, there was much to be learned about being culturally competent, and there will continue to be more to learn as time goes on. I look forward to growing as a counselor and most of all as a human being. I'm excited and nervous about going on a journey of discovering my own biases and prejudices, and hopefully working to expose myself more to those issues within myself so that I can learn and grow in order to better assist my current and future clients. I hope that God will continue to lead me and guide me in these next years as a student and all of the years to follow. Here are my sources. Thank you for listening, and that is all.